You know, one of the most problematic things about street photography is that when we go out and we have the intention, which is one of the most important things about street photography, is our fears. And we go out there and we're afraid, and we're getting over it. And like I've said before, one of the things that I do to get over fear is I try and loosen up on my way to the location where I'm planning to do my shots. One of the exciting things about street photography is that it's edgy. You get out on the street and people are everywhere. You lift your camera up, and the moment you lift it up to take a shot, the person looks at you, and that's what puts fear into you. And that's a problem, because what happens is that you then buckle up and you bring the camera down, you look at the person and you just wonder, well, I'm not quite sure whether I should be doing this or not. And then you're just entertaining your own fears, and it can ruin the whole day. There's a lot of people about, you imagine from many years ago, Saul Leiter and more contemporary street photographers who, when you watch a video of them and they're bouncing around on the street and somebody's filming them, of course, they seem very relaxed. Not always so relaxed, but they just don't seem to be sort of being bothered by what they're looking at. They're more focused and interested in it. That's because they're full of intention, which is really important. If you don't have intention when you go out, you're going to find that you get all watery and flop about, and you allow people who are looking at you to intimidate you. You might end up inviting that situation where you create it yourself. What do they call that? Their self-fulfilled prophecy. Oh no, people are going to get really excited and worried about me taking photos, and then somebody's going to come over and they're going to tell me off, and then you sort of act like a little child as they do that. Or you just tell them that you're not taking photos of them. Please go away and leave me alone. It is still a free country. Even in Europe, where you're not allowed to take portrait photos of people, it's still a free country, and you can take photos on the street. There's not a problem with that. You can go out, take photos. You're pursuing an artistic practice, and the law is that street photography is an art. It's a recognized art form in Europe, at least. I don't know about the other countries, UK, United States of America, down in Peru, or anywhere else. I don't know, but I know for sure here, because I have to be very careful when I'm out and about with my camera to know exactly what I can and can't do. And I suggest that you sort of update your ideas on what you can and can't do. If you're in the UK, my experience is, when I'm there, is that you can walk around the streets, you lift a camera, and mostly people don't give a flying monkey's toss about the fact that you're there on the street corner with a camera. Whereas in Berlin, it can be a little bit dodgy. People do sort of notice people with cameras. What I have seen, though, which I really like, is that it's less and less heavy, big DSLRs on the street. There's a lot more people using mobile phones. I don't know, there's all this stuff about marketing and everything, and I think they push the DSLR and then the mirrorless camera really hard. But those industries are having a few problems these days, and the phone companies always sold their mobile phones on the basis of, it's got a fantastic camera. You should buy this mobile phone because you will be able to not call people, but rather take fantastic photos. Imagine if you were at home and your phone rings and you pick it up and it's your house phone and it took a photo of you. You'd be like, what the hell? What is this thing? To be afraid on the street is okay, but you can channel that fear into your energy, and it becomes energy, and you go into it anyway. Don't be afraid, because the only way you're going to get that shot that you can call a keeper, and that is for you, is like a leveling up of your skill, is to be able to push into the fear. You look at crowds and flows of people walking through the streets. It's beautiful, because if you're lucky, it's summertime, not like autumn now, and people are wearing colourful clothes. And so they're moving away, moving, and I always like to think they're like, nice animal groups, herds of people, herds of horses, herds of geese. This time of year, you've got the geese flying overhead, and so I hear them. They're all heading down south to Spain, the lucky bastards. And the thing about it is that, I begin to think about groups of people moving like gaggles of geese or herds of horses, or sometimes, if it's night photography, packs of dogs. But there you go. And it all incites a little bit of fear and edginess inside of you, but that's the way to go in order to get that keeper of a shot. And also see if you've got it in you to be able to like push through and just keep going and push through and take those shots in order to get the keeper shot. Because it's when we get those keepers and we do, let's say 25, 30 shots when we're out there, because I'm very thoughtful and I even think 30 shots is a bit too much. It's like blowing off a whole roll of film in the old days, which is expensive. But with digital, it doesn't matter. But don't go out there and take 400 shots. I don't know what the hell you're doing if you do that. I mean, sure, it doesn't cost you any money, but it costs you a ton of time to cull through all that dross afterwards when you get home. I mean, you're going to have about 5 cups of coffee in order to stay awake to do that. And then you're going to pull out about 3 good shots that you might say there's something there. They're pretty good shots. And then I'm going to keep those 3 shots that I got from 400 or even 600 shots that I took today in 4 hours. It's really important that you are mindful when you're taking photos. And it's one of the keys to lessening the feeling of fear is to be to go out there with intention. That means you know what you want. You know what makes you want to take photos in terms of you love the forms and shapes and colors and lines and the beautiful contrasts that textures and people create. You know, you don't really necessarily have to go out there thinking portrait, but think composition. You think composition and you go out there, you look for that texture, forms, shape, and capturing that movement as you go down the street. Then you're getting close to what your intentions are. And you understand more when you do that. You get back home and you sit down and then you've got a bigger screen and you look at the work you did and you're going to discover that you're getting closer to what you want. That keeps you focused when you're out there. And that keeps you away from feeling any fear. Also, it's this idea of mindfulness will always help you. I mean, if you think about it, photography is a form of meditation in many ways. It doesn't matter whether you do street photography, it doesn't matter whether you do still lives or something, or portrait photography specifically, then you're going to find that what you've really got to get into it, mindfulness is the key to being able to be very aware of what it is you're looking at. Sometimes you can raise your camera and look at a person, go to take the shot, and they turn and they look at you, and then suddenly you feel like you've just been caught out. And then you might put the camera down and then maybe take a photo of some pigeons or something, you know, and you think, oh yeah, I'm just like David Attenborough, I'm doing wildlife photography in the middle of a city, pigeons. You know, that sort of thing, you need to get away from that and need to work with your intention, your mindfulness, and also not 400 or 600 shots every time you go out, because you don't want all that work when you come back. And if you think about it, when you're sitting down and you're culling your photos, which should be maybe 25, 30 shots, you know, it's a better deal. And you'll find that there were much more focused shots. They were more full of intent. Maybe you'll see things where you tried and there was something going on in you, because there's so much that is unconscious happening when you're taking photos. So something came up in a photo that you took when you were full of mindfulness, intention, and therefore focused, and you weren't even thinking about fear. But anyway, it's one of those things that you just got to do it. There's a damn good reason why people spend a whole lifetime taking photos. The worst thing you do is sit down and think, why do I do this? Because, you know, there's no answer to that. It's like saying, why am I alive? And looking for the real answer. You're not going to find it. And why do we take photos? I'll tell you why. Because we're visual people, and we're sort of, what floats your boat is visual ideas, visual images, and it means something. For me, I know that when I'm looking at something, it really has a meaning to me. But I can never, ever put that meaning into words. And I think that's a good thing, because it tells us that visual language is a real thing. Anyway, I'm Sean Durham. I hope this sort of thing is helpful for you, make you think, make you motivated. make you forget your fears and go out there and go get that keeper. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.